Clerk, please call the roll. Here. Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to jump right into it. Good morning, everyone. Ordinance number 860-2025 by Councilmember Slife, an ordinance changing the use area and height districts of parcels of land in north and south of Lorraine Avenue, west of Rocky River Drive, map change 2679. All right, Mrs. Leonard. Good morning. I'm doing well. How about you? Good. Now make sure you don't disappear today. Because yeah. Yes. All right, the floor is yours.
All right. Good morning, Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning, Committee. Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Administrator. This is map change 2679, and as you stated, it's changing the use area and height districts of parcels of land north and south of Lorraine between Rocky River Drive and Valley Parkway. The purpose of it is to consolidate a variety of zoning districts, specifically local retail, multifamily, and single family, into one comprehensive district. It's to ensure future development meets the community's needs, and it's to align the institutional investments with the proper zoning that complements the residential and mixed-use character of the neighborhood, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So what you can see here is the current zoning of the area. It's a mix of single-family A1, multifamily C1, local retail C1, and C4. So what you see on the southern campus of Fairview Hospital is C4. For height district is for 250 feet. And then the lines, yes?
Can you speak directly to the mic? Because folks back say they can't hear you.
I'm so sorry, yes. Let me turn this a little bit. Okay, is that better? Okay. The lines that you see running along Lorraine, the brown line is a 15-foot specific map setback, and then the yellow line that you see also running along Lorraine is a current pedestrian retail overlay district. This is a current context. You'll see the Fairview Hospital to the south and to the north of the site along Lorraine, between the Valley and Rocky River Drive. You also see the shopping center at the corner of Rocky River and Lorraine. And then you'll see a variety of mixed-use businesses east of the hospital campus, as well as a few parking lots in residential neighborhoods. The proposed zoning here, as we stated before, is to really consolidate a lot of the institutional uses that are actually happening into one district, which is different height districts. And that's really to complement as it moves down through closer to Rocky River, to bring the height back down to match the context of the residential to the north and to the south. The institutional research that you're seeing being proposed here on the north side of the campus, you'll notice that it was split zone multifamily and single family, but the entire parcel is institutional, and so the proposal is to change it to institutional research D3. The south side of the campus is local retail C4. So 4 height district allows up to 250 feet, whereas the 3 only allows up to 115 feet. On the south side of campus, they are bringing down that parking garage, which was really the impetus, I believe, of the north side, as well as the expansion of the cancer center on the north side of Lorraine here. So the institutional research will continue to allow multi-residential family buildings, as well as educational medical developments, research facilities, professional offices, museums, libraries, schools, places of worship, parks, playgrounds, and playfields as well. What you see here currently is the context along this area of the institutional research that's being proposed on the north and south side, and really to consolidate those districts. On the northwestern view of Lorraine at West 178th Street, you can see the current medical building. Then you also see the southwestern view, Lorraine looking down at West 179th Street. On the lower building here, the picture here, you see the northwestern view is taking a picture from Lorraine at West 179th. And then in the far right-hand corner, you'll see the western view at 179th. The next section that you see is in the light blue that we're proposing. That currently is zoned local retail C1. We are proposing institutional research D2, so this brings the height down from that 3 height district down to 60 feet. That really allows for mixed use buildings as well as multifamily residential, any type of educational medical developments, really offices and other entities that would support the campus that's being located here, as well as allow for local and mixed use neighborhood amenities that will cater to the neighborhood. Again, this is just giving context of this section that's being proposed to be rezoned to institutional research D2. You looking down Lorraine, the northwestern view at West 178th Street at all corners. So northwestern view where you can see the employee parking at the old used car lot. And then the southwestern view is also currently employee parking. The next proposed rezoning here is where you have the pedestrian retail overlay, and that's really local retail D2. And again, that allows for residential uses of all types, but it also allows for food stores, shoe stores, drug stores, eating places, professional offices, really neighborhood amenities, any type of uses that really are complementary to the neighborhood and not conflicting with the neighborhood. And then, again, this is just giving you a view at this corner, at southwestern view along Lorraine, and then a southeastern view as well along Lorraine. Oop. So this is the proposed rezoning here. Again, it's a mix of institutional research districts to complement the institutional research that is already, uses that are already existing, but also to ensure that any future development is in alignment with a master plan that city planning can require during the design review process for this expansion. That really gives the city and the neighborhood more control over the process and a more community-involved process. Additionally, this did go to Planning Commission back on April 4th for the rezoning. Then schematic occurred at Planning Commission on May 2nd for their expansion. And so we are here before you all today for the rezoning. And again, this is really to consolidate the split zoning districts into institutional research and then ensure that there's local retail that's available to all existing businesses will be grandfathered in, which means that they will be able to continue to operate in perpetuity. This rezoning will not affect them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Leonard. Director, did you want to add anything?
I'll just add that our zoning team as well as our neighborhood planning team has been working with the community as well as Cleveland Clinic on this proposed rezoning and the work that the clinic is doing to upgrade their cancer care facility on the north side of Lorraine to the west of West 179th Street. And so this is all in context of that and also looking forward to potential future plans. As Ms. Leonard said, this institutional research zoning really sets the table for a more comprehensive planning conversation with the clinic so that future plans can be adopted by Planning Commission before we're in specific construction conversations.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have the sign-in sheets? Before we go to the committee for questions, we'll open it up, the public comment portion of the meeting. We'll go in order of those who have signed in. Thank you so much. We've also received to the committee, on your tablets, you have the public comments, and in your emails, several comments from residents whose, I believe most of them were against the project, and that you all have received in your inbox, and I believe that they also received some that were in favor as well. So you have on your tablet and in your inbox, you should have all the comments that we have received by email from residents who are near the Fairview Park facility. And then we also have a number of people who have signed in, not a number, but we have some people who have signed in to speak this morning regarding the proposed zoning change here this morning. And we'll go in order with the first person we had. Well, before we go there, are going to allow 3 minutes apiece. We only have 3 people who signed in for public comments, so we'll allow for some additional time. And we will start with Douglas Baird. Douglas, come on up. You can sit here. Am I right? Yep. And just hit the button on the microphone, and it'll turn green.
Did I push it? There we go. Hello, my name is Douglas Baird. I bought my property on West 179th Street over 30 years ago, and we have encouraged and are happy that the hospital continues to grow and thrive. Unfortunately, this zoning change affects the formerly residential parcels along the west side of West 179th Street. Those are zoned single family and 2-family. The hospital acquired those houses, demolished them, and built an open surface parking lot. And we went to the Board of Zoning Appeals. We secured a legal document requiring and acknowledging that the neighborhood deserved protections. Now, the clinic has incorporated those formerly residential plots and lumped them in with this greater institutional research. And we're asking that the parcels along West 179th Street that were residential when we bought our homes, that we have watched demolished, that a brick wall 10 feet high has been built, landscaping has been planted, be protected, and that our residential street, West 179th Street, does not become the driveway for a 1,000-car parking garage. We still live on this street. George and his family live across from this construction project. I just feel that these Board of Zoning Appeals documents need to be upheld, and that someone needs to say, listen, it's fine for you to build, fine for you to rezone the commercial areas, but this will be a death thrill to our entire neighborhood if they're allowed to drive not just 995 cars in, but back out, back in, back out every day. And the hospital says, oh, well, we could close off your street. They don't care whether or not 1,000 cars are driving up and down our roads. We're going to be trapped. Our property values diminished. The livelihood and vitality of our neighborhood completely obliterated. And the clinic is just going to keep marching through. We should have some protections for being a residential community. And at the former meeting, we were told, oh, this restriction, this change would actually help you. Well, it won't, because the West 179th Street, those homes were front-facing. That was a front elevation, and that needs to be upheld. They cannot rezone it and then say suddenly, well, we're making it a side elevation because we're calling Lorraine Avenue the front. I just don't understand what protections we have. We've fought endlessly simply to protect the character and integrity of our neighborhood. So please take that into consideration and provide some protections just for those residential lots along West 179th Street.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Baird. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have George Corze. All right, George, come on down.
I'm not as good a speaker as Douglas.
Hey,
All
listen,
right.
we
I had to write it out.
No, you are fine.
Okay.
You know, the fact that you showed up here today,
We always
appreciate
show
it.
up.
Absolutely.
And most often it feels like it's for a futile effort. We're hoping for a better outcome today.
Thank you, George.
Is this on?
Yes, it's on.
I probably don't even need it on. So I'm George Gorze. I live on 179th, directly in front of the 6-story parking garage that's proposed. First off, I would like to thank President and members of City Council. Thank you for this opportunity. Again, my name is George Gorzay. My wife Terry and our two sons, George and Simon, are homeowners on West 179th Street. We also own the business on the corner. You can see the cutout in yellow on the corner of 179th and Lorraine. We have been included in the process, but only in ways that avoid addressing the real issues. Key, realistic, and impactful concerns from our neighborhood have gone unacknowledged and unaddressed. We have been asked to attend meetings hosted by Councilman Slife, CAM's Development Corporation, and the hospital. But these have been staged sessions designed for the hospital to check a box, not to genuinely engage with us or address the concerns of residents. CAM's Development Corporation and Councilman Slife have not acted as advocates for our enclave, but as facilitators for the hospital's goals. We ask you, with the full weight of your public trust, to pause and think about what's at stake. On May 2nd, the Planning Commission granted schematic approval for a 995-car, 6-story parking garage using West 179th Street, a narrow, city-owned residential street, as its primary entrance and exit. That approval should have never have been granted. At the time of the vote, the zoning for this project was not yet written into law or codified in the city charter, meaning the legal framework necessary for such an approval simply did not exist. We were given 7 days' notice for that hearing. We did have the plans presented to us, but no real understanding beyond simply looking at them and no explanation of how the process works. We have repeatedly asked multiple times for guidance. Meanwhile, we are given 3 minutes to speak while the Cleveland Clinic presents for as long as they want. Where is the fairness in that? Our formal grievance filed May 29th went unanswered for more than 2 months until 9:24 p.m. last night, just 12 hours before this council meeting. I was already asleep when the email arrived, so I did not see it until this morning. That timing is not a sign of a healthy, transparent process. We still have no comprehensive traffic study assessing the real-world impact on our enclave. We still have no enforceable requirement that hospital-generated traffic be contained on hospital property. And this is not about minor inconvenience. It is about property values, public safety, emergency vehicle access, and whether a public street can be functionally privatized without your informed consent. In 1999, a memorandum of understanding protected a neighborhood just south of the hospital from a 400-car surface lot. The city and the hospital both agreed such a project warranted safeguards for residents. While we are north of the hospital and not part of that MOU, it still set a clear precedent for how future hospital expansion projects should protect adjacent neighborhoods. That precedent was carried forward in 2010 when the Board of Zoning Appeals, in case number 10-136411, ruled specifically on our neighborhood north of the hospital. That ruling addressed traffic and neighborhood impact concerns and strictly prohibited hospital-generated traffic from using residential streets, while requiring screening and buffer protections for nearby homes. Today, we face nearly triple the capacity of the 1999 project, stacked 6 stories high, yet those protections have been stripped away. If a 400-car lot south of the hospital needed safeguards in 1999, and if the BZA reaffirmed those protections for our neighborhood in 2010, how could a 995-car garage proceed without them? Council members, the law is not a technicality. It is the guardrail that keeps decisions fair, transparent, and accountable. We're not asking you to kill this project. We are asking you to insist it be done right. Postpone your vote. We require that our grievance be fully addressed in substance, not just acknowledged. Require a genuine analysis that covers our entire enclave and demand that hospital traffic be contained entirely on hospital property. Require a memorandum of understanding and a community benefits agreement that provide real enforceable protections for our neighborhood. And let us be clear, The reason more residents are not here today is not because they do not care. It is because there is a common belief that the Cleveland Clinic always gets what it wants, and that it manipulates our neighborhood organizations, our council members, and this very process. Transparency is not optional. Without it, public trust will continue to erode, and that is far more damaging than any delay to a construction schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Corzine. Thank you.
For the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have Barbara Hass. Good morning.
My name is Barbara.
Haas. Okay.
Yeah, hi. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you for the
Yes.
opportunity to speak. Can
Absolutely.
everybody hear me okay?
Yes. You can
Thank
put the mic a
you.
little bit closer to you.
Okay. So I am a resident of West 179th Street and have participated in many meetings on this topic. And as the other residents have stated, I agree completely with what they have said so far. And I feel like, you know, my biggest offense here is that I chose a house in a beautiful neighborhood by the Metro Parks. I love it there. I chose to move into Cleveland, and I hope that you'll protect our neighborhood. It's really alarming that this project is going to take away so much of what we enjoy, our tranquility, you know, neighbors who can go walk their dogs in peace, and kids that play in the street. That's all jeopardized by this project. Having all these cars going down our street, the noise pollution, you know, we have helicopters and ambulances going all the time, and, you know, we do put up with that, but this is just a next level for us to really have some concerns about our quality of life there. And I feel at this point, it's almost like our option is to just kind of put up with it or to move. And that's just really a shame, because I'm a resident of Cleveland and I'm a proud resident, and I don't want to move. I would like to stay, but this project is really, you know, challenging for all of us. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And again, committee, we have all of these on your tablet and also received them electronically as well. You have also had comments from Walter and Luda Grossman, Instant and Maria, and Catherine Shepard and Mary Washburn as well were all received to the council regarding their comments or concerns regarding the project. All right. Madam Clerk, is there anyone else who signed in or anyone else who wanted to speak but did not sign in or got here late? Okay, no one? All right, we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting. We'll go to the committee for questions. Councilman Slife, would you want to go now? You would like to go after the committee?
I'll go now and kind of kick it off. Excuse me. I'm going to pass down, and then if at the end we could give it to the clerk so people can see what I passed. But it's two graphics just to kind of give the context of what the larger project that's kind of the elephant in the room in all of this is. But in brief, if you've been to Fairview Hospital, you turn in and there's a parking garage that's connected to a medical office building that's connected to the hospital. And those buildings are at end of life. So they need to be demolished at some point simply because they will become structurally unsound or very expensive to keep up. I think we can all understand that they're old and everything has a lifespan. What's being proposed on the second sheet is the current parking garage essentially becomes a surface lot, and on the north side of Lorraine Avenue, we build a replacement parking structure and medical office building that's connected over Lorraine Avenue. Now, a question that's come from the community a lot is why across the street? And really, it comes down to hospital staging. There needs to be a parking garage in existence while one is being constructed. There needs to be a medical office building in existence while one is being constructed, and it becomes a staged project. And then, in the end of it, creates an opportunity for future development immediately adjacent to the hospital on what would essentially be a surface lot for the time being. The Cleveland Clinic structures its non-main campus facilities into geographies, and west of the Cuyahoga River all the way out to Sandusky is considered basically Cleveland Clinic West. My words, not their words, but essentially Fairview is more or less the flagship hospital of Cleveland Clinic West. And the challenge has been, predating my time in office, recognizing a need to recapitalize Fairview Hospital in a dense urban environment against a cliff. Also with the recognition that about 10, 15 years ago, the clinic constructed Avon Hospital, where there is substantial land available for easy greenfield development. And prior to my time in office, prior to this administration, it's been the understanding that the best interest of that's great timing. The best interest of the city of Cleveland is to maintain health facilities and jobs in the urban core, for a variety of reasons that I think you all understand. There's about 2,500 employees at Fairview Hospital. The clinic does not give exact numbers, but if I use averages from the internet, anticipate about over $150 million of payroll, which translates to about $4 million of taxes. So a concern has been all along that if there's not an opportunity to reinvest and really do a one-to-one replacement at Fairview Hospital, that incentivizes the transfer of health services and employment outside of the city of Cleveland. Respectfully, I do not agree with the idea that the clinic gets whatever they want, because they've already scaled down this project to the extent that they've already begun moving services to a facility in Rocky River and out to Avon Hospital. So I think it is important to understand that while this is a tough project and there's a need to balance the needs of an institution and the services they provide against the residential aspect of the neighborhood, it's not simple. It's not so simple, in my opinion, to say this can be scaled back. That ends up reducing the structure of the hospital, the services it provides, and I don't need to tell all of you what the history over the past decades has been about hospital downsizes and even closures in the city of Cleveland. There's been a multi-year planning process that continues, but generally the plan is that cars would enter a parking garage from West 179th Street. It's the determination of the city's traffic engineer that that street and Lorraine are able to accommodate the traffic, and there's precedent for it with other hospitals in the neighborhood. A very understandable concern that I share is the desire for people to maybe cut through the other side streets in lieu of traversing directly to and from Lorraine, and to that end, the city is comfortable. It would not be a hospital plan; it would be a city plan to essentially put a barricade or some other design along West 179th Street. So if you wanted to access that cul-de-sac up at the very north, you would come from the other streets. We can put in new signals, and that would prevent clinic traffic from drifting beyond where it's supposed to go. What's not shown in this rezoning also is across West 179th Street on the east side is a green space buffer that all of that side of the street, save for Mr. Gorzay's property, is owned by the Cleveland Clinic. It's not included in this rezoning, so it would retain its current zoning. But suffice to say, there's a very understandable anxiety, I think, about clinic continuing to expand into the residential areas. And in speaking with planning staff, the reason we came to the mutual conclusion that an institutional zoning district would be the most advantageous for the clinic portion is because it allows the Planning Commission to compel a master plan to be submitted to the city, which does not currently exist, that we can hold them to, and if there's an intent to go beyond the scope of what their master plan is, then we can deny things based on its nonconformance with a master plan. So I do think that this is more advantageous than it is now. We're also bringing down the height district of the main hospital building to kind of conform with what it is now. As I see it, if the simultaneous goals are to maintain one-to-one medical services and limit the effects along West 179th Street, that pushes a building up higher, which I don't think is advantageous to the neighborhood, or is just non-feasible and fails to achieve the desired outcome at the beginning, which is to achieve the one-to-one. There's a lot of conversations that are ongoing about not just the design and planning and how we can step back, how we can do our best effort, not a perfect effort, but our best effort to not have an imposing structure or a aesthetically non-pleasing structure, while also doing right-of-way improvements and other things along Lorraine to better funnel traffic, to get cars in and out, to make safer intersections at the intersection of Lorraine and Old Lorraine, and to look at this as a holistic improvement for the neighborhood. But the reason that I am supportive of this is because this is the best option that we can have for how to respect the residences while also ensuring that there's hospital services on the west side of Cleveland. The other items going down Lorraine, I haven't focused on as much because they are just aligning the current uses with the zoning, which I don't think people have seen any issues or had large questions about. It's really sort of logical. I'm happy to answer any questions about the larger project, but I would ask my colleagues to support this. This continues to go through design review. There's been no final determination, so we have had touch points along the way, but the city of Cleveland has not made any formal acknowledgement of what the project definitively would be at this time. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Slive, did you have something else you want to add? You're good? Okay. Thank you, Councilman Slive. Anyone else on the committee? Questions? Councilman McCormack?
Thank you,
And
Mr.
Councilman
Chairman.
Harsh.
Thank you. I wanted to speak in favor of this ordinance, and I'll just say that, I really want to reflect what the councilman said. We are in a city where health services are becoming more and more and more sparse, that are on bus lines, that are walkable, that are accessible to our residents in the city of Cleveland. I know folks that live in this neighborhood that use this hospital, and I will tell you right now, I know the Cleveland Clinic is investing significantly in the main campus, which is great, but there are significant investment happening in Avon, in Beechwood, all over the exurbs in the city of Cleveland. What that means is jobs are not accessible to our residents, healthcare is not accessible to our residents, and we lose that access. So, if you've got the dollars to have private health insurance and a car, good for you. Many Clevelanders don't. And they rely on the bus line that gets to the hospital. They rely on the access that gets to the hospital. So I want us all to think about why it's important to have hospitals in the city that are accessible to city residents. And, listen, Avon Lake will open their door to the Cleveland Clinic to do whatever they want out there. It is a lot harder to build in the city of Cleveland than it is in Avon Lake and other places. And so I just want us to be thoughtful around being a person that born and raised in the city. I grew up next to a Cleveland Clinic hospital in Collinwood, and every year we're afraid that thing's going to close. And if that thing closes, all those residents in Collinwood are going to lose access to that health care. So I just want us to be thoughtful when we think about investments of hospitals and healthcare in Cleveland. We think about all Cleveland residents and their ability to have access to high quality health care in the context of what we're talking about. It is not easy to get 30 minutes outside the city to get a doctor's appointment or health care, and that's what a lot of folks have to face in the city. I talked about this actually in a previous ordinance regarding our health insurance, about my concerns about health care going outside of the city of Cleveland. And again, I appreciate Councilman Slife's diligence. I know this has been discussed, Mr. Chairman, to Councilman Slife for how many years?
It goes back.
How many?
It predates.
53 days?
No, this
predates you.
me.
Predates you. Okay.
There was a
I thought you
through the
said-
chair. There was a plan to do this capitalization project sooner that conflicted with COVID, essentially.
Okay, so for years, it's easy to say for years, this has been discussed with the community. And I'll tell you, just from the neighborhoods I represent, my residents would be thrilled if a parking garage went in on West 25th Street or somewhere in Ohio City. They would love it. So to hopefully alleviate traffic in the street. But again, Mr. Chairman, I understand this has been discussed for years. There's tensions here, but I just want us to think holistically about healthcare access in our city for city residents that need to utilize bus lines or have them accessible to them, that they have them here. And again, if we make it so hard for health care providers to invest in the city, of course they're going to go to Avon and pull a permit in 2 weeks and build. So I just want us to be thoughtful about that and conscientious when we think about institutions investing in the city. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. McCormack. Councilman Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to get a better understanding of the current lay of the land. So I don't know if this is through the chair to the councilman's life or whoever. But it looks like, I'm looking at the Google satellite map. I don't know from when, but it looks like the entire eastern side of West 179th is populated with houses, and the western side is the parking lot. But then I think the picture that was passed out shows those houses on the east side aren't there. So through the chair, what is the current status of the east side of 179 from, I'm going to say, is it Olean?
Aline.
Aline, okay. From Aline down to Lorraine, what is the status of those?
Yeah, so through the chair, incrementally over years, the Cleveland Clinic purchased all of the houses on that street except for one, Mr. Gorzay's home. Last year, they demolished all of those homes, which that was not in a design review district, so the permits were granted. Their intent is for that to act as a green transition zone between the houses on West 178th Street and medical structures on the west side of West 179th Street. There is a thank you, George. There is part of the design review process includes how to turn that not just into a passive space, but into a actual more park-like green space. And we're kind of leaning on the community on what the specific design aspects of that would be.
Okay. And so then is the concern then through the chair for traffic that people exiting the garage will head north up 179 into the residential area, or that the residents left in the cul-de-sac up there will have a harder time accessing because they'll have to use 178?
So through the chair, of those three streets, there's only a traffic light right now on West 179th. So
Okay.
residents will generally, very often, especially during busy times of the day, exit via 179th because it's easier to turn left. What we have discussed with traffic engineering is the kind of teeing up the intersection of Lorraine and Old Lorraine, which is the fork in the road, that would allow for the installation of a new traffic light at West 176, so that there's a new access point.
I see.
And then being able just before the intersection of 179th and Aline, putting in some sort of blockage or whatever it is that would require that section of 179th would essentially be like a no outlet.
Right. So if the light through the chair were to stay at 179, then traffic exiting the parking garage could be directed south only. There would be some way to restrict them from turning left, heading north, thus preventing them from going into the residential.
That would be the thought, and through the chair at a community meeting, a show of hands, a good majority of people thought that would be a useful improvement to the street network. There are others who don't see favor in it or feel that it's essentially de facto
I see.
giving the road to an institution. It would remain a public road.
Okay. I understand. My questions are answered. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Harsh. Any other questions from the committee? Any other thoughts? Any other concerns? Any other questions? Councilman Sly.
So thank you to our attorney Vishnu. He is asking, the administration is asking that we do make a kind of minor technical amendment to Section 3, which I will read in a second, but it's basically as you do the legal descriptions always reference back to the attached map, and in this section there's omits the line of referring back to the attached map. So if I could make a, if I could make a motion to amend Section 3 to add the following at the end of the section. And as identified on attached map, shall be changed to a local retail business district, a D area district, and a 2 height district. Is that correct, Vishnu? Okay. And this is referring, I believe, to the parcels closest to Rocky River Drive.
Is that the case, Mrs. Leonard?
Through the chair, yes.
All right. Any questions before we get a formal, because that wasn't a formal motion, right?
No.
That was?
Yes.
Okay. All right. No.
It's a technical issue.
Just a technical
It's
issue?
just a
then?
technical, I left it out, it was a typo.
Is a typo?
Yes.
Okay.
Second, Chair.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. So normally when we make these changes to the zoning, this has to go back to the commission. So why wouldn't does this have to go back to the planning commission?
No, this is just a typo in the legal description. So at the end of every section, it says, and as after we've done the complete legal description, it says, and as identified on this attached map, it hereby should be established that this is X district. And so the map isn't changing. I just left out local retail in the legal description, and the law department just now caught it. So.
Okay.
And so it's not changing anything. The map's not changing. The legal description is the same. All of the parcels are the same. It was just that one line that was left out. So there's nothing changing that needs to go back to be reviewed. It was just a typo in the actual legislation
Sure.
description.
Okay. All right, thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on ordinance 860? Seeing no further discussions, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the motion passes for the amendment. We'll come back to the committee for any additional follow-up thoughts and discussions. Councilman Slife, anything?
No.
All right, and I know that Mr. Gorzay did have another question in the back. If you can chat with him, Mrs. Leonard, to address any of the questions that Mr. Bayer, Mrs. Haas, and Mr. Gorzay has. I'm sure that would be appreciated by the residents. You know, if there's any additional confusion maybe that has been created today. One thing when you are in a meeting setting and you come to hear these presentations and something maybe jumps out at you that you weren't thinking about before, that would be helpful if you can stick around and have a discussion with the residents who came down today. All right?
Okay.
All right, seeing no further questions, ordinance number 860-2025 as amended stands approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you here for the next one as well? Okay. This is. All right, ordinance number 726-2025 by Mayor Bibb, an ordinance to amend sections 352.01, 352.13, 401.34, 457.01 to 457.04, 457.09, 457.1.12, and 457.99 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, as amended by various ordinances to supplement the codified ordinances by enacting new sections 459.991 and to repeal section 457.05 as enacted by ordinance number 1684-76 passed June 29th, 1976, all relating to public garages and parking lots. All right, we have a presentation here this morning. We'll hear from planning, public safety, about what they want to do. All right, good morning. Who wants to start?
Right. Good morning, Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Lucas Reeve. I am a senior advisor in the mayor's office. And today we're here to talk about Ordinance 726-2025, which concerns paid parking facility legislation. In terms of the goal here and the intention behind the amendments that are being proposed to the existing ordinance, really it's centered around public safety and efforts to reduce crime that has been occurring in paid parking facilities across the city. The main goal here is to be working proactively with the facility owner operators. You'll hear, especially in terms of the safety and securities provision, that is a new provision that impacts lots in downtown Cleveland, that the goal here is to work collaboratively, taking an all-of-government approach with CDP for the first time, being a part of the licensing process in an attempt to work with the facility owner and operators collaboratively to get safety and security measures in place that can help reduce crime that occurs in those lots. And really, I think generally here, the main benefit, as we all know, is that when we have safer parking lots, we have stronger communities, we have a positive impact on the local businesses, and really what we're trying to do here is keep both the users of the parking lots as well as the folks that work there and operate them as safe as we possibly can. Just a general review of some of the changes. One, this is a citywide change that's reflective of some legislation that was adopted in 2024 that helped to increase the lighting regulations for parking lots. We're building upon that a little bit here, establishing a 1-foot candle requirement for all walking surfaces and walking areas, as well as an increased lighting requirement that's specific for stairwells and landings. Just knowing that particularly within parking garages, there are certain areas that we want to have much more well lit to help keep folks safe, and so this particular change is an effort to do that. As well, we've added some language here for the lighting to be shielded. There have been some issues that have come up time to time with local residents who live nearby or businesses nearby where the lighting is not appropriately angled or shielded, and it's causing some issues for them. So we've got some language in here that helps to address that issue as well. On the licensing side, and you'll notice we kind of go through the conversations this morning that much of this is utilizing that licensing piece as a mechanism to help ensure greater levels of public safety in these parking lots. Applications would need to include a certificate of occupancy. They would also need to include accurately scaled and dimensioned images of all signage to help with review by Cleveland City Planning. And second, for downtown designated districts, and so within the codified ordinance, there is a definition for various parking districts. Here, we're highlighting the downtown core, the warehouse, Erie View, and Gateway as districts within downtown Cleveland that would have a specific provision related to license applications, whereby operators of lots, both surface and parking garages, would need to identify the security measures that they have or plan to have in place. And then these security measures would be reviewed and approved by the Cleveland Division of Police. So this is a new process flow and pathway that now includes the Cleveland Division of Police. So license applications would still go through Division of License and Assessments, but the first stop for any of the lots downtown would be that case-by-case review by the Cleveland Division of Police. On the maintenance side, we're just sort of updating the language here, pulling it in from other existing ordinances that speak to the requirement for proper grading and draining, the use of approved surface materials, and the requirement to keep the facilities free of trash and debris. We're just bringing that over and highlighting that within the maintenance section of this legislation. Also, under the maintenance section, this is related to signage and the accuracy of signage. We've got some language in there that speaks to owner and operators having to maintain signage in a way that is directing folks that are using those lots to be paying the operators themselves and not any fraudulent third party. There have been some instances in the past whereby folks have gone in and put up signage that's inaccurate and is requesting that folks are making payment to someone someone that does not own or operate the lot. And so this is just in an effort to help ensure that those types of incidences are reduced as well. Just a quick highlight on the penalty side, no real changes to any of the other penalties that are within the existing ordinance, including the civil penalties, but a slight increase from $100 to $150 for criminal penalties related to a few sections within the ordinance. I want to dive a little bit deeper into the downtown requirement that I mentioned earlier, just kind of highlighting how, what the intention is behind it and how we see it working. So as I mentioned earlier, the parking facility operators would be required to identify the safety and security measures that they have or will have in place at their lots. This is done through a questionnaire that the applicant for a license renewal would complete as part of that license application process. This particular document, and I sent it over to council staff as well, hopefully you have had a chance to see it. If not, I have a few copies with me this morning, is really endeavoring to help create a baseline level and pull from industry best practices and standards for the types of safety and security measures that should be in place at a baseline level for these paid parking facilities. They include things like perimeter security, levels of staffing, surveillance of the lots, including cameras. So we're asking folks to not only identify how many cameras they have in place, but whether or not those cameras are registered with public safety in an effort to encourage more folks to be registering their cameras with public safety. They ask for some information about signage, what their access control looks like, what their lighting is, and any other safety features that they might have in place that would be helpful for CDP's review of their safety and security measures. Cleveland Police would then review those measures on a case-by-case basis. So they are looking at a whole host of things to make a determination as to whether or not the safety and security measures that have been identified are adequate for that particular lot, whether it's a surface lot or a parking garage. And they're doing it on a case-by-case basis to look at both the location of the facility, some of the uses that might be nearby, frequency of use, and they're also taking a look from a yearly perspective. They'll do a year look back on any reported criminal activity and crimes that have happened in those lots over the past year. They would then, Cleveland Police would then have up to 60 days to go through that review process and approve the security measures that were submitted as part of that license application. They can approve or the applicant may be requested to supply additional information, either to close the gap, some questions that might come about as part of the review, or if those safety and security measures are insufficient, they may be requested to submit a revised security measures plan for a second review. They can add, to what they had previously submitted in an effort to get to that place where the Division of Police believes that what they've identified are adequate and in place. As part of the enforcement process, if Cleveland Police identify 3 or more nuisance or criminal violations within a 6-month period, the operator could be required to submit an updated security measures plan with enhanced security features. I think it's important to note also that they may be required to do nothing. If the previously approved safety and security plan is still sufficient and adequate, they would not be required to add anything else at that time. I would also note then that there is some due process here from an owner-operator perspective. And so if the plan is deemed inadequate and no agreement can be reached between the Cleveland Division of Police and the owner-operators, they do have a pathway towards a hearing. They can request a hearing or a meeting with Cleveland Division of Police, or they can move on to the Board of Zoning Appeals to have their concerns heard at that level. A couple of amendments that I just wanted to note. This was introduced to council back in June. And since that time, we have a couple of amendments that we'd like to draw your attention to this morning. One of them is in section 45703C. which endeavors to change a few places where we're describing the safety and security measures previously as adequate, and we are now updating that and requesting that it's updated to use the term reasonable. I will note that part of the change here is due to some engagement that we have done from the administration standpoint with owner-operators of these paid parking facilities. We had 3 separate meetings hosted and convened by the folks at Downtown Cleveland's Alliance to help us to engage with not only the owner-operators of lots across downtown, but also hear from some of the concerns that were raised from property owners and business owners related to reported incidents that have impacted them or their customers downtown. And so this change here is really in an effort to double down and emphasize that the Cleveland Division of Police really cannot be imposing any unreasonable demands on folks in terms of the safety and security measures that they're requesting be in place. And again, kind of harken back to what I had mentioned earlier around that due process that exists for folks if they believe that that is something that is being requested of them. And then the second amendment that I will note is a provision that would require the Director of Public Safety to produce a report for City Council after 2 years, specific to the effectiveness of the safety and securities provision that's being proposed here, to make a determination as to whether or not it is effective, whether or not it should be enhanced or changed in any way. And I will note that also there's a possibility that the safety and security measures provision is working well, that we may want to actually look at deploying that in other areas across the city.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Lucas, what's your title?
Senior Advisor in the Mayor's Office.
Senior Advisor, okay. I felt like you were somewhere else in the city. Were you?
Yes, previous to joining the administration, I was working at the Old Brooklyn CDC as their executive director.
There it is. Okay. And I remember you from somewhere. I couldn't remember. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you for the presentation. Mrs. Lenders, anything you want to add regarding this piece as well? Because I know you stayed around.
I'm just here for questions if anything relates to zoning or the certificate of occupancy
Okay.
requirement.
All right. Thank you. Anything from our safety director or chief?
Just here for answering any questions as well.
Same here.
Okay. Thank you, chief. We'll go to the committee for questions. Councilman McCormack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by thanking Lucas for his being the quarterback on this and trying to get a hold of his councilman during the summer session, which has not been easy on his behalf. I like to self-shame myself when I know I haven't called someone back. Makes me feel better. I put it into the atmosphere a little bit, you know, speak it into the universe. Anyways, Chairman, fully support this legislation. I want to recognize Lucas and the team for really going back, pausing this, stopping this to engage back with stakeholders, and I think those were really fruitful conversations, led to some amendments. At Downtown Cleveland Alliance, who I know is with us here in the room. Good morning, DCA, on their phones. Want to thank Downtown Cleveland Inc., for their engagement on this as well. I'm just thanking you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Chairman, also to the director, the chief, and the assistant chief, deputy chief, who participated in a lot of those meetings with stakeholders pertaining to this ordinance. I know this, our chief is a former 3rd District commander, so she is familiar with a lot of these issues that are being presented here today. So really important piece of legislation. Chair, what this does is really reemphasizes a lot of the rules that are already on the books, but for those parking lot operators that are doing a great job and you know, keeping their lighting up and keeping their places clean, great, we love you. We know, though, that there are some that do not do that. And this is really an effort, Mr. Chairman, to say that if you are a resident of downtown or if you are visiting downtown or you work downtown and you pay to park in a paid lot, you deserve to know that there's going to be lights on, that they're going to care about cleanliness, they're going to keep the lot up, and they're going to keep a coordinated safety plan for your vehicles in those lots, as well as for the folks that are using them as a pedestrian or otherwise. So, and I'll just say in short, Mr. Chairman, I had a few years back, and I'll leave specifics out of it, I got a complaint from a parking lot owner in downtown in my ward about some issues that happened there. And I went that evening to that parking lot, Mr. Chairman, and not a single light was working. The fence was falling over, the bushes were overgrown, and there wasn't one camera in that lot. Now, I don't wish crime on anybody, Mr. Chairman, but there were so many things that that lot could have done to, either prevent or deter that type of activity in their lot. But because we didn't have an intuitive system to address that was reviewed by our folks in public safety, it wasn't caught on the front end, and we didn't have a policy that was thoughtful enough and comprehensive enough to address it. So, again, Chair, the point here is that if you're entrusting your dollars in a lot, again, visiting, working, living, you should have the reasonable accommodation of basic lights, public safety, and cleanliness in that lot, just as we would expect out of any business in the city of Cleveland. So I think that this ordinance update is smart, intuitive, and on time to help ensure, and I think a lot about downtown because it's really a big chunk of my ward, but to ensure that those places are safe for everybody that involved. So I support this legislation, Chair. And again, I appreciate the amendments and changes that were made in response to community feedback.
Thank you, Councilman McCormack. Ready? Councilwoman Santana?
Yeah, thank you, Councilman McCormick, for your remarks. Quick question, why aren't we implementing this across our city? Why just downtown?
Mr. Lucas, Director.
Through the chair and to the councilwoman, I think part of the reason why we're not implementing this at this moment across the entire city is endeavoring to use this as a prototype downtown to really understand its effectiveness. I think that's also one of the great reasons that we've got that 2-year review provision in there as well, to be able to make sure that we can implement it in the right way and it's being effective before we think about rolling it out citywide.
Okay, so that's your thought through the chair, that you will roll it out once you guys prove that it works, basically. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Harsh?
Mr. Chair, that was my question as well. I do want to say, though, I guess, well, through the chair, I'm only familiar with the concept of a foot candle from the good work of our colleague, Councilwoman Moore, who brought this to my attention last year. I think because of a situation at a parking garage down in her ward, and my same question was, why are we rolling out safety measures for downtown and not for the neighborhoods where these problems were discovered? And so I guess my follow-up question to Councilwoman Santana's question, which was going to be the question, is 2 years. Does that mean that in 2 years we will come back with a recommendation to go citywide, or a recommendation to go commercial, or a recommendation to go lots over a certain size? What exactly are we hoping to find out in the next 2 years to determine the effectiveness of a program like this?
Through the chair to the councilman, I'm not entirely sure if your question is related to the lighting provision or the security measures provision.
I would bundle it.
Okay. So first, the lighting provision is a citywide provision, so it's not specific just to downtown Cleveland. That particular element is citywide. That
Okay.
increased lighting standards, particularly for those stairwells and areas of public egress and ingress into the lots. And then to your second question, we just want to be able to determine the effectiveness of the security measures provision. There are a little over 300 lots that are licensed on a yearly basis across the city. And so a little over 150 of them, I think about 160 are located downtown. So we're kind of biting off here what we feel like is a reasonable number of lots to work into this 2-year process, and also targeting the area with the highest frequency of criminal activity. So really putting an emphasis on the areas that need the most help currently.
Okay. And so lastly, I don't see a map here, but does this zone include all 160 that you just mentioned, the downtown? Through the chair to Mr. Reeves.
Through the chair to the councilman, it would be just shy of that 160. I don't know the exact number of lots that are within the zone, but it's still a significant number.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Harsh. Any other questions from the committee members?
Oh, yeah, Chairman.
Councilwoman?
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to see this bill come forward, and just want to draw the connection between the surface parking lot requirements that this committee supported last year and the downtown parking garages. I know it seems a little unusual to have things separated out by neighborhood, but what I've really appreciated from working with Lucas and with public safety is that there's a higher density of paid parking garages in downtown, and they pose unique challenges. And so establishing this for those parking garages is really taking a significant bite at the problem and really gets to our areas of highest need. I think that this is building off of sort of common sense reforms that we got into place last year, and I'm very excited to be enthusiastically in support of these upgrades, safety upgrades to paid parking garages downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Councilwoman?
Good morning to the chair, to the team here. So, when this came to me, I had a very initial conversation with Lucas, then I followed up with Chief Director Drummond, because the first thing I said is that, I understand our connection to our businesses. We are very appreciative of our businesses, financial. Within that, though, there are the many of the parking lots that have been hit, in our residential areas and many of our housing complexes. And I was very clear with Lucas from the onset. I'm like, if there is no pathway for residential, I will not be supporting this, right? And from that time, I've had the conversation again with Lucas, Chief Director Drummond, and we have put forth a pathway to ensure in the coming months to have, I would say, some more strength to be able to hold residential property apartment complex holders accountable. We know many of our residents, especially our seniors, are getting hit very hard financially because of the car break-ins, and we are hopeful, working with our policy team, that we will be able to come up with some solutions that our residential community members will also have some relief working with property managers, because again, I just encourage people, but just when it gets dark, to drive around our communities and look at our open lots. They are so dark. Many of the lights aren't working. There is the back and forth between utility departments. We don't own the lights. It is a mess, and we absolutely have to fix this. And it is come the time for people to stop making excuses and for the city of Cleveland to have real enforcement efforts in place to hold people accountable. Regardless of your socioeconomic status, you deserve to be invested in, and when there's a problem, to have your local government and other community partners to react. So I'm looking forward to bringing that forward and working with our partners to ensure, as we are starting downtown because of the concentration, things of that nature, looking forward to also bringing that relief to our residential partners. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Just a couple questions, Mr. Lucas and Director. When you talked about the maintenance, having these landscaped areas and other aspects of the lots, are you expecting the property owners to install all of these things, or whatever type of landscaping that they have, you want them just to maintain it and keep it free of trash and debris?
So the maintenance that we reviewed this morning, all of those things that are listed there already exist on the books. There's just to highlight, there are no changes on the maintenance side of things, and so any owner operator of a lot would be still required to either install or maintain the elements that are currently required of them.
So if they've been operating without a landscaping buffer of some sort, and we have been issuing their permits to them, and now we come back and say, wait, we've been issuing you a permit, but now we want you to install a landscape buffer or some sort of strip of greenery that's going to cost you $15,000, $20,000 to install, after we have been issuing your permit and your license to operate the facility and did not require this previously. That's what I'm hearing? That's what we intend to do?
That's not necessarily what happens. So any existing lot that's already built up and has a legal certificate of occupancy can continue to exist as is. even if they're being given a license from the Division of Assessments and Licensing. If a new use comes to the city and they don't meet the landscaping requirements like the frontage strips and the buffers, or for the paid surface lots, for instance, you want to establish a new paid surface lot and you don't have an occupancy permit, you will be required to meet the zoning code and 457, as well as if you're in a design review district, go through the city planning or landmarks process.
So if you're currently licensed but don't have an occupancy permit, and you want to now receive an occupancy permit, and you don't have this landscaping buffer, whatever the requirement is, then you'll be required to install all of those things before you can get your occupancy permit, even though we've been issuing the license to this facility to operate.
Yeah, so even if there's been a license being passed out without making sure that the city, you've always needed an occupancy permit. Before this ordinance, after this ordinance, you're going to need an occupancy permit to operate a business in the city of Cleveland. The legal ramifications can be sorted out with the law department, but essentially if you are in a legally operating business, you need to become compliant by receiving an occupancy permit, and you would need to install the landscaping or seek a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Out of these 150, 160 lots that are located within this area, how many have you done the research to see who don't have an occupancy permit? Mr. Lucas?
Yeah, we've looked into from a citywide perspective, and there certainly are a large number of folks that do not have an occupancy permit that's currently on file in Acela, but that doesn't mean that there isn't an existing occupancy permit that exists sort of in a paper form that hasn't made its way to Acela. And I believe, maybe I'll let Shannon comment on this as well, there are other circumstances that may have led to these folks not having a certificate of occupancy in place for parking.
Yeah, through the chair to the committee. So essentially, the occupancy permit wasn't required until 1990 through the city of Cleveland and the state of Ohio. And so anybody that's been existing and operating prior to that date or after that date and has some legal record of established use on file, so it may not be an occupancy permit, but through our
Established use,
division
yeah.
of records, we can establish use, we can look at maps, we can look at the licensing, things like that. So things like that can sometimes be grandfathered in, but they would need to get their occupancy permit moving forward. The other thing to think about is under 35203 in our landscaping code is that if you have that existing lot and you can show that this has been, whether it's through the licensing and assessments office or through maps or Google or things like that, that this has been an operating use. We've been using this as a paid parking lot. The City Planning Commission can waive some of those landscaping requirements, but it would be up to the Planning Commission to do so. And there's a set of standards. Does this create a bigger conformity if we, non-conformity if we waive these standards, things of that nature? And then they could also go to the Board of Zoning Appeals to appeal those other standards from 457 for the paid parking lots themselves.
Sure. Thank you for that. I mean, I asked the question because not everyone has received an occupancy permit. There's been other ways to establish use along the years. And I've run into that issue many times, even businesses in my ward, that, in fact, you and I have looked into who are just cars everywhere, weeds growing all, it's just a mess, right? Right on the main corridor that we, unfortunately, were not able to address adequately because they established the use along the way, right? And didn't have occupancy to operate the repair and facility, but they established the use for decades, right? Well before my time. Okay. The reported crime issues, and Councilman McCormick, he knows this as well, and from representing the area for a number of years now, and just when many of us, are out and about throughout the city. And particularly on some of those days where you have these very celebrated days during the year, some of our holidays, right? When it's just like I think of even some homeowners, right? Where yes, the nuisance law is absolutely necessary and appropriate to address issues that they are consistently having or recurring problems at their location. They've done nothing to address those issues. But do you have places where really are out of some folks' control, right? Where if I have 100 people show up, right, to downtown and just take over a street, and they done bust bottles. They're fighting in my parking lot. They are just having a time, right? And we pull calls for service to determine whether this place has been a nuisance or they should be required to do X, Y, and Z. How are we differentiating the calls, right? Are you really looking into those calls in a deeper way to determine whether this was something that could have been prevented, right? Something that was just allowed to happen, whether it was something that was just inevitable because of what was occurring at that time?
Through the chair, and that's a great question. This ordinance, along with the ordinance, which is a criminal activity nuisance, is something that we'll look at. For example, like you just stated, if there's a call for service at a property or properties, my staff and the Department of Public Safety will review those calls for service, make an assessment based on those calls for service, break those down, because it's just not looking at the call itself. It's important that you dig a little bit deeper into those particular calls to go exactly to the point that you're talking about. Not just that it was a call for service, but what was the call for service? Was it a call for loud music, and you get there's 100 people that's out there doing whatever you just described, which is out of the control of that particular property owner? That's all taken in consideration relative to, and more specifically, the nuisance activity, which is 63001 ordinance. So we take all that in consideration. So we just don't penalize the property owners. We have to make an assessment of the situation before that's put into place. And even with that, we work with the property owners to set something up. Again, we don't want to penalize them. We want to work with them to make sure they're doing everything they can to prevent some of the activity from taking place.
Sure, and I thank you for that. I know we can point to break-ins and a lot of the facilities, right? But I have the same issue at schools in my ward, where people are, and many of us have across the city, that folks at a crazy point in all of our lives, these past couple of years, where folks are stealing their cars, the Kias, the Hondas, right? They were. I was at a meeting last week at a school with a new principal, and one of the first things they discussed was, the issues they had in the past with their parking lot. Folks, checking the doors, busting windows, right? As we look at rolling this out into neighborhoods and others, I'm thinking about places and people like that, right? Who, do you penalize the school district, right, for not being able to protect every single car, right? And if that was the case, we'll be penalizing ourselves as a city because we're not protecting from every single break-in, every car theft that is occurring across the city. I'm just asking this question to make sure I have a good understanding about how this is going to be looked at and how it's going to be rolled out. And I think at times, folks think because these owners, these operators of these facilities have a lot of money, they can take it, right? Whatever we want to do, they can handle it. Well, I don't think that's necessarily always fair, and that's the case. But really should to be fair across the board as it relates to how we are going to and who we're going to target with these new changes. Just going to my last question on the attendance that you mentioned that was had with the operators in this particular area. How many? When did those meetings occur, and how many folks attended those meetings?
We had 3 separate meetings. I have the dates here. We had June 10th, June 17th, and then July 17th. I believe the first meeting, we actually had a very significant attendance. Councilman McCormick was there as well. I think a couple of other council representatives were at that meeting. There was a little over 50 people, I believe, at that initial meeting. Yeah. So those included paid parking, facility owner-operators, as well as some other property owners and business owners downtown. And then the 2 subsequent meetings had less folks in attendance. They were more focused on the owner-operators themselves, I think 20 or less at the subsequent meetings.
Okay. So okay, great. All right. And the timeline for CPT to review these questionnaires that come in, is that going to hold up the licensing and issuance of their certificate to operate, because they have to apply every year, correct? Every year to operate.
To the chair, so our process is similar to what you would look at, like with an F2 permit or the liquor license applications. We have a designated amount of time to review those and get those back. It has to be a reasonable amount of time. One point that I want to make sure that we clarify with the enforcement portion and the crime stats for these operators. You talked about everyone knows when there is a big event. And what we don't want to see happen anymore is they collect everyone's money who's down here for a large event, and then they all go home. It's not fair to those visitors that happens. And that's what we talk about when we look at the crime stats. You know, if you're not doing your part, you know, crime is going to happen. The car break-ins are going to happen. Litter is going to happen. It's not that. It's about, you know, they have to contribute to the safety as well. It cannot be just a division of police issue to patrol and monitor all of these lots. So it will be, you know, there's a timeline that's set in the ordinance, and it will not be an issue for us to comply with that.
Sure. And what is it, 60 days, 30 days, 45?
60.
60 days, okay. All right, gotcha. And we also discussed, you know, the appeal process, BZA, and then after BZA, if you don't agree, you mentioned that is that in the ordinance that it goes to common pleas, and why not the municipal court?
To the chair goes to common pleas, and that's part of the Ohio Revised Code, that those appeals will go strictly and directly to the Court of Common Pleas.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the committee? All right, I would suggest one change. I know you have in here in section 5, after 2 years, and as you discussed with us, you intend to roll this out quickly, right? You know, not sit on this. I would suggest that maybe after 1 year you come back to this body, you know, with a report on its effectiveness, so that way we don't get too far down the road. And again, as we look at how we roll this out into neighborhoods, that'll give us a more sooner insight on how it's going, so that way we can sooner put some of these provisions to the neighborhoods as well, to address some of the issues that we were having in the parking lots and parking garages that's within the residential areas of the city.
Through the chair, we're okay with that, amending it to 1 year.
All right, Councilman McCormack, here you go, sir.
Thank you, Chair. I was trying to open it up on my iPad, but it's glacial. Alrighty. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to move to amend ordinance number 726/2025. Okay, I guess a clarification to our Assistant Law Director. Have these amendments in front of us already been read in?
No.
So I would
Need to read them in.
read them both in, and I'll just change the second amendment. Yes. That's what I should do? Okay.
Yes.
Great. Alrighty. So the First Amendment, Mr. Chairman, at amended sections 45703, Division C, lines 4, 10, and 11, strike adequate and insert reasonable in all 3 places, and in line 10, after measures are, insert or will be, and line 11, strike not in place and insert insufficient. Mr. Chairman, the Second Amendment, insert new Section 5 to read as follows. Section 5, that after 1 year after the effective date of this ordinance, the Director of Public Safety shall report to Council on the effectiveness of the security measures affected by this ordinance. So to the Assistant Law Director, that is 1 year instead of probably what's in front of you. Third Amendment, renumber existing Section 5 to new Section 6.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? See no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the amendment passes. Any follow-up discussion from the committee? Seeing no further discussion, ordinance number 726-2025 stands approved. Thank you all. All right. This ends the zoning portion of the meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on our regular agenda.
Here.
Present.
with ordinance number 818-2025. 818-2025. Let me get the ordinance. All right. Ordinance number 818-2025 by Councilmember Hairston. By departmental request, an emergency ordinance designating Greater New Calvary Baptist Church, formerly First Congregational Church of Collinwood, as a Cleveland landmark. Yes. All right.
Good morning.
Good
Carl
morning.
Brunges, Cleveland Landmark staff. I am joined here with the driving force behind this legislation, Gay Kane, with the congregation. And we're also joined by other members of the congregation with us in the audience too, so we welcome them.
Would you like to come up and sit as well?
I'll just
announce it. Okay.
I'll just introduce them.
There you go.
Okay. I'll just introduce them so they can raise up their hand.
Absolutely.
We have China Washington. We have Violet Clemens, Elizabeth Briscoe, Laura Harris, and our pastor, Linwood Knight.
That's the night. Thank you.
We are here for, as I mentioned, Greater New Calvary Baptist Church, the former First Congregational Church of Collinwood. This is located in the South Collinwood Census District. Collinwood is split between East Cleveland and Euclid townships. It is named for Charles Collins, who was the chief engineer for the Lakeshore Michigan Southern Railroad for 30 years. Although the name Collinsville appears on the 1874 map, it was quickly changed as there was already a Collinsville in Ohio about 8 miles east of Oxford. The Encyclopedia of Cleveland History notes that in 1874, at least 500 engineers, firemen, brakemen, conductors, and other employees made their headquarters near the yard to handle the 72 freight trains arriving daily. As the railroad grew, so did the village of Collinwood, with its population reaching about 3,200 in the 1890s. The congregation was founded as an outgrowth of the Free Congregational Church of Collimer, which is East Cleveland, with 18 charter members. Ford Chapel was named in honor of Horatio Ford. Though records were not specific, it is believed to be after Horatio Cyrus Ford, who had died in 1876. Not long after the founding of the church, his son was Horatio Clark Ford. The deed was filed in 1891, groundbreaking in 1893. It took only 2 years to construct the building. It's in a Romanesque revival style with an Akron plan layout. The architect was William Warren Sabin, active in Cleveland for more than 3 decades. He has more than 50 buildings currently attributed to him, with the First Church of Christ, Euclid, Ohio, aka the First United Presbyterian Church of East Cleveland, the Henry Grave House in Sandusky, Ohio, and the Dr. William Gifford House in Cleveland listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The Bolton Avenue Presbyterian Church, now known as Antioch Baptist Church, was a designated Cleveland landmark and was completed immediately before First Collinwood in 1894. In 1910, Collinwood was annexed by the city of Cleveland. In 1914, Collinwood Congregational Church incorporated officially. There was an addition in 1913 and alterations in 1914, but those permits are missing. The church formally, and a few years later, after their incorporation, they looked to add a new gymnasium. Unfortunately, this permit was also missing, but the church records mentioned the architect's name once. Architect Herman Maurer was born in Cleveland and graduated from the Case School of Applied Science in 1907. Nearly 24 churches have been attributed to him thus far, including Cleveland Landmarks Emmanuel Presbyterian, First Hungarian Reformed, and one of our more recent designations, the East Glenville Methodist Episcopal Church, which he designed with his partner, Mr. Mills. At the golden anniversary of the congregation, there were 500 members and 600 attending Sunday school.
Carl, before you go back, I don't mean to interrupt you. East Glenview Methodist Church, I went there for Head Start. Down in the basement, as when you enter on the left-hand side there. And it's funny because I used to tell the teachers, I'm calling my granddad on you. Man, that brings back just so many memories.
In 1936, the YMCA began using the parish house and gymnasium for their facilities. This arrangement would continue until 1957, when they moved into new facilities around the corner. In 1957, we had the merger of three major denominations together to form the United Church of Christ. And then in several years to complete that merger, and the name changed to the Collinwood United Church of Christ in 1961. That same year, Reverend Dwayne L. Day was installed as pastor, and he would be a part of the civil rights activities in the area that would affect the church long term. I'm going to ask you to please excuse the brevity of a very extremely complex period in the city's and country's history, and I just want to hit some basic information. During the 1950s, urban renewal projects, including Area B, Area K, and the Inner Belt construction forced thousands of African Americans further east into neighborhoods near and in Collinwood. This was coupled with the second great migration of Southern blacks and Appalachian whites also coming to the area. Collinwood experienced rapid demographic changes that led to increased racial conflicts at the time. The landmark case of Brown versus Board of Education, ruling in 1954, ended legal segregation in the educational system, asserting that separate could never be equal, and mandated the desegregation of public schools in America. The busing of black children to white receiving schools heard protests from both black and white parents. Reverend Day was an ardent supporter of civil rights and school integration and was a member of the Emergency Clergymen's Committee for Civil Rights, serving on its executive board, formed about 1964. The school integration issue reached a breaking point in April with the accidental death of Reverend Bruce Clunder, who was crushed by a bulldozer at the construction site of the elementary school on Lakeview Road. The Clergymen's Committee included about 230 Protestant and Jewish clergymen in the greater Cleveland area. Dr. Jeffrey K. Haddon noted in his book, The Gathering Storm in the Churches, 1969, that at least a dozen of them lost their pulpits due to their involvement, including Day. Day tendered his resignation in an effort to keep the congregation together, but with everything happening in the neighborhood, it was too late. A report by the Collinwood Community Service Center noted 90% of the population of South Collinwood was ethnic Europeans, and about 5 to 10% was black in 1965. By 1968, they estimated the black population had grown to 30%, the ethnic population fallen to 40%, and Appalachian whites had established themselves with 30% of the population. The church lost membership quickly. In 1962, the church had 479 members. By 1964, it was down to 298, with weekly attendance about 52. Following the annual meeting in January 1966, the trustees noted some of their issues facing the future. Members were leaving the neighborhood and transferring to other churches. They were aging out, as there was only 4 members in attendance under the age of 30. There was an increase in churches in their census tract. The expenses were exceeding the income, and as noted by one member, the church was in the throes of what was happening across the country, and that was being in a changing neighborhood and not changing with it. In an effort to continue, they investigated the possibility of merging with another congregation. After 9 months, it came down to one possibility, Grace United Church on West Drop Avenue, but the Collinwood congregation would have to move there. On January 18, 1967, the membership voted overwhelmingly to disband, with the final day being March 31, 1967. The property transferred to the Western Reserve Association of the United Church of Christ. In March 1968, the building became the site of the Collinwood Multi-Service Center, funded by a 3-year grant from the Greater Cleveland Foundation. This housed offices for various agencies seen on screen. This facility and other service centers became an important local support center as in May 1968, Mayor Carl B. Stokes launched the Cleveland Now initiative. This is to be a 10 to 12-year program designed to cure physical and social ills, including housing, jobs, and health, remaking Cleveland into a thoroughly livable city. In 1971, at the end of the 3-year grant term, the now named Collinwood Community Service Center moved to 741 East 153rd Street. 1971 was also a new beginning for the property. On January 3rd, a new congregation was formed. The day began with a Sunday school class and a morning sermon. Everyone reassembled in the afternoon to organize the church. It was during this meeting that Greater New Calvary was named and Minister H.H. Hardy was called to be the pastor. There are 2 deeds in late 1971 transferring the property to the new congregation. Less than a decade later, they were able to burn the mortgage. The congregation has been together for more than 50 years. They provide for the community with their food pantry and clothing programs. For a number of years, they also housed the South and West Community Center, providing a safe place for the youth of the neighborhood to participate in supervised activities while the Collinwood Recreation Center was in development. The Collinwood Rec Center opened in 2012, but this facility remained in use until the pandemic in 2020. Music has been a large part of the congregation. There have been at least 7 different choirs throughout the years, and they contribute to make a mark in the neighborhood. We have our significance. It hits many of our qualifications for a landmark architecture, social history, etc. The current conditions of the church: beautiful stone, maintains its integrity. And the interiors. And we talk about an Akron plan. This is what that is. This is where you have Sunday school off to the side, and it can be closed by a partition and then reopened up during East Glenville is also another Akron plan church. There are 2 main stained glass windows. Nella Morgan, 1876 to 1937. There was not much information on her. Her family was from Ashtabula. Could not find her connection to the church outside of her mother's funeral, was held there in 1923. J. Odell was a member of the church, was involved in the temperance movement, including a stint as the president of the Ohio State Anti-Liquor Alliance, and was a member of the Prohibition Party. There are references to him being active in the abolitionist movement, including possibly being a part of the Underground Railroad, and he died in 1908. And there's the South and West basketball court. List of our sources. And thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. Man, I used to volunteer in the Green Building with Councilman Coates with his holiday food bags. Used to line them all up. Used to have to come there and moving the bags around, placing stuff inside of those. We played basketball down in the gym there as well. You know, growing up as a kid there. So when I got this request, I was absolutely happy to support it and submit this request for the designation today. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna call him up when I leave, Councilman Coates, and just share with him kind of what was discussed here today. And the place served as a secondary rec facility for many years in Collinwood, because South Collinwood didn't have a recreation facility or anything that could have organized activities like basketball and football and other things. And so this place, this church here, serves many purposes besides a food pantry and a place where folks can come and get clothing items, but they really serve, all generations of people here in the neighborhood. And so, I'm very happy to see again that this is happening today. All right. Would you like to add any comments?
Well, you kind of took some of my comments.
Okay.
Because I was just going to point out again that our church, first off, thank you all for your time and consideration in this whole process of recognizing our church's contributions to the spiritual and physical well-being of the community. And in keeping with that, we always knew it was something different about our church as a structure because of everybody would come in and they'd come in on the woodwork, or somebody would say something about the date of the cornerstone, and they'd always come in and say something with the construction design. We knew there was something different, and that gave us the catalyst to enlist the commission, and especially Carl, thank him for his effort in this whole process. And just thank you all again for just recognizing our church and the fact that we've been in the community for so long, and that it is truly a landmark here in the city of Cleveland. That's all.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Truly a landmark. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you 100%. I see one of my other favorite residents is here with us today. Ms. China in the back there. All right. All right. Is there any questions from the committee? Yes, Councilman McCormack.
No, Chair, I just wanted to thank you for your hard work, and Carl and our team here from the church. And just, it is absolutely beautiful church, really stunning. But it seems like the spirit and service of its congregation is just as beautiful. So congratulations and thank you for your hard work on this. Really a great piece of legislation.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, seeing no further questions, ordinance number 818-2025 stands approved. All right, thank you. I'll reach out and we'll do something in the neighborhood. Okay, all right. You all take care. Thank you. All right. I don't know. Can you ask? Can you ask? Yeah, thank you. All right. Ordinance number 819-2025 by Councilmembers Conwell, Harrison, and Griffin by Department requests an emergency ordinance authorizing Director of Economic Development to enter into a favorable loan agreement with Famicos Foundation or its designee to provide economic development assistance to partially finance acquisition and redevelopment and development of interior and exterior improvements at a mixed-use building located at 1355 East 105th Street and other associated costs necessary to redevelop the property. Director, thank you. We have Mr. Analifo, the great Mr. Analifo of the historic Famicos Foundation. Mr. Khalid Hawthorne.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the partial introductions. Also joined here by Ms. Afoma Ezepwe from our staff, who has been doing a lot of work on this, and here today to talk about the rehabilitation of 1355 East 105th Street. This is a building along East 105th Street, kind of across the street of and about a half a block from the Glen Village project. Which is about a $16 million redevelopment on East 105th Street, which has been rehabilitated. I think you can see here by the condition of this building, long since disrepair. I think we all know the psychological effects of having disinvestment like this in our neighborhoods, and we think also an incredibly important project for continuing to set the market on East 105th Street so that there can be kind of some continued infill like Glen Village to come through here. Working with the Famicos Foundation, this is about a $1.55 million project. We are looking at extending a $500,000 forgivable loan through the Neighborhood Transformation Initiative funds that are still left and designated for this part of Glenville going on. It's about 2,700 square feet on the ground floor that would be rehabbed as commercial spaces with apartments above. A couple, right? And again, commitment of 4 jobs that will come with this and about a $1.55 million project. I am happy to turn it over to Mr. Analifo to add a little bit more color. Go from there.
Thank you, Director. Mr. Chair and members of committee, I just want to quickly give an emotional background about this particular property that most of us might know or remember. That in 1984, one of our daughters, Gloria Pointer, was murdered in this particular building. And some elements in the community have asked that it be torn down, but her mother felt differently, wanted that to make sure that we keep the building to provide facilities for people that live in our neighborhood, but instead to have a marker on the next to the building, something like a chair that will bear the memory of Gloria Pointer. And so it is one of 2 remaining storefronts on that part of East 105 between Wade Park and Superior Avenue. It is important for us, it is emotional for us to do the work, to put it in good use. And I'm asking Kitty's Council to consider favorably Ordinance 819-2025. I'm going to turn over to Khalid, Mr. Hawthorne, to present the project to you, to the committee.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Yeah.
So just to reiterate on the fact that this is one of the last storefronts along this corridor, it was once called the Gold Coast because it was the second largest retail district outside of downtown. Just imagine how many storefronts were along here, and which now consists of vacant lots, churches, and parking lots, what we discussed earlier today. But for the most part, like that, and that's one of the things that's driving this. I see this project as one like a pebble in the stone for this area. You've had initial investment in Glen Village, the city has put in, but in order to start, what we're trying to do is rebuild this corridor, and this is like bridging across the street. But then there's also other things that we have planned across this community. Of course, other projects that we presented in the past to the city, still in motion, things that we work on every day as a CDC, trying to piece these projects together for the community. This one in particular, being $1.5 million investment, we're looking at 4 apartments up top, and then white box in the storefront. I was actually involved in that actually with Lucas. We started on a citywide initiative to start a white box program because of storefronts like this, very much needed throughout the city. There's been a lot more funding put towards the middle neighborhoods, commercial quarters, have white box programs. Cmte has been working on a white box program as well. And so that's the way we get these buildings. They're small but hard to develop buildings. And so support from money sources such as this helps us move these buildings back to productive use.
Mrs. Epway, anything you'd like to add?
Anything else, Director?
That's all, sir.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. I couldn't agree that this building, has a lot of history here. History that some want to forget, history that some want to preserve, as we heard from Mr. Analifo, Director of Famicos Foundation. I remember this stretch as a kid. The vibrancy, right? Then you begin to see the decline over the years, and then now you see the area, making a rebound and a comeback since Mayor Frank Jackson and yourself, Ms. Analifo, the work that has went into this community. And I commend Famicos Foundation for never giving up and not letting off the gas pedal when people told you that it was impossible, that it couldn't be done. He'd look at them with those glasses and he says, "No, Councilman, it can be done," right? Or no, whomever, it can be done. And having the support of Mayor Jackson at that time, and then coming in and having this continued support of Mayor Bibb has truly. Been helpful to the work that has gone in and will continue to happen in this neighborhood. I'm glad that we are continuing to get the rest of the dollars that we have in these pots and these funds out into the neighborhood. We've seen this in Buckeye Woodland neighborhood. We see it in Glenville. We see it over in Clark Fulton. And monies that were set aside for these communities, it does no good sitting in a pot somewhere, right? Where it does good is being out on our streets, in our neighborhoods, and where the money was intended to go and to help. And so I'm glad that we are pushing these dollars into the streets again. And so fully supportive of this piece here, although a bit out of the side of the areas of 10. But the work that happens here in this part of Glenville helps the other parts of Glenville and the surrounding communities as well. All right. Any questions from the committee? Councilman Harsh?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious. I'm just trying to understand the footprint here. Is the picture on the screen looks like there's not a building next to it, but I'm looking at the Google and there's like a building on the other side of that one. Is that building still standing or is that building gone?
That's old Carnegie Library next door.
So it's still there and it's
right,
but it's not part of the development site through the chair?
No.
Okay. And then my only other question through the chair, how many apartments are in here? Is this just a 4-unit or they run from the front all the way to the back?
Yeah, they're sizable units, about 1,300 square feet.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms in there? Or whatever.
2-ish.
2-ish, maybe a third. Okay.
So 2 in a nursery.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Harsh. Any further questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, ordinance number 819-2025 stands approved. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Old school, yes. It's Dome Elementary School.
Yes.
It is. They redid it. Beautiful school. Yes. Famicos is getting it done. Thank you.
I think it's intro and passed.
Ordinance number 800-2025 by Councilmembers Hairston and Griffin by departmental request an emergency ordinance to amend section 1 of ordinance number 1167-2024 passed January 13, 2025, relating to a contract with Cmte Consulting Services Incorporated to provide professional service for on-call planning services. We have Director Merksman, Assistant Director. Nah, come on now. You know she know her name. She's supposed. You know how when you queue it up and they run with their name.
Okay.
Like I didn't know her name. Come on now. Whenever there's changes, she steps in and she keeps the ball rolling. We thank her for all of her commitment to the city. All right, Assistant Director Fields.
Okay. Well, actually, I'll let Callie go ahead and start.
Director.
Thank you. Thank you, council members. Not quite good afternoon yet. We're here before you to request updated authorization to add already budgeted funds to the on-call contract with Stantec Consulting. A little bit of history about this is that City Planning first issued an RFP for this on-call contract in 2023. We came to council for authority to sign a one-year contract that included 3 one-year options to renew with additional legislative authority. And that is what the ordinance that was passed in January was. Interim Director Fields was here at that time to get that authority to extend the contract terms. At that time, we were before budget season, so our 2025 budget year had not yet been appropriated, and council at that time asked that we come back to add the $100,000 of authority to the contract after the budget had been passed. And so that is what we are here today to do. I'm happy to go into details of the projects that we've done through this contract if you'd like to, but that's the basic layout, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Got it. Thank you. Yes, I recall the conversation. Hey, once it's actually budgeted, come back to us, and we'll amend the ordinance to allow for the additional dollars. Any questions from the committee? We added they requested a higher amount, anticipating we give them more amount, but we told them to come back once we actually passed the budget and added the amount, which we ultimately did.
So we ended up adding that. Okay, thank you. I do recall this conversation.
Okay. All right. No other questions from the committee? Yes, Director. Can you put together a list of projects that you have had Stantec Consulting Services work on that we can be presented tomorrow at Committee of the Whole?
Yes, sir. They're included in the summary that's with the ordinance.
All right. And I can't.
I have a copy if you would like
All right.
it.
It's not showing on my tablet, but we can. All right. Thank you.
Thank
all
you.
right. And this is everything that they've worked on?
Yes, Council Chair, there's a list from 2024 and then 2025.
All right. Sounds good. We'll make sure the committee has that. Center for Further Questions, ordinance number 800-2025 stands approved. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
UPS is adjourned. Thank you.